Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Nick Saban took his golf game to Greystone Golf and Country Club in Birmingham last week for the region's Tradition Pro-Am. Saban was one of several Alabama representatives at the event. He played with Bernhard Longer in the Pro-Am, and I'm telling you, Longer may be the best golfer on the Champions Tour, but all eyes were on Nick Saban. Rodney, I was there. It was like Elvis. I'm telling you, people flocked to him wherever he went. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, a lot like Saban. People flock to him wherever he goes. Yeah. I'm just Gary Harris. I'm along for the ride, WVUA 23 Sports Director. And, you know, I've been on the Pepsi Zero Sugar kick from Buffalo Rock, and that's what we've got again tonight. Woo. Rodney, got to teach you how to open these things, buddy. Because I like the full Pepsi flavor without any of the sugar. It's 0 calories. Remember to pick up some Pepsi Zero Sugar Max Taste the next time you're at your local grocery store or convenience store. Also at the Regions Pro-Am was Alabama's Director of Athletics, Greg Byrne. And Byrne talked about the recent announcement of a big home-and-home series with Texas. This coming shortly after announcing the Notre Dame series. The good news about the Texas series, it's coming up just in 5 years. Greg Byrne now explaining why the administration is approaching these home-and-home series games along with the neutral site games.
I think it's a balance for us. We're still going to have some neutral games here and there, but I think things continue to evolve and change, and Coach Saban and I have been talking about different scenarios, and we had the opportunity with Notre Dame, and now we have the opportunity with Texas to schedule some home-and-homes. I think that'll be good for both programs, the communities, our fan bases, and so I think it'll give a lot of buzz for what's ahead in the future for college football and most importantly, Alabama football.
And the Notre Dame series is still 10, 11 years off. This man next to me, he has a sore spot for Texas anyway. Growing up in Corpus Christi as an Alabama fan, knowing full well that Coach Bryant never posted a win against the Longhorns, Alabama was 0-7-1 until Nick Saban got here and won the national championship. Now, 2022 in Austin, 2023 in Tuscaloosa, I think Nick Saban will still be the coach. How excited are you about this home-and-home with the Longhorns and the fact that we don't have to wait 10 or 11 years for it?
Yeah, actually, I wish it was sooner because I know Alabama's going to be really good over the next 3 years. And if Nick Saban's still here, which we certainly expect that, Gary, for the Texas series, I mean, wow. I mean, that's going to be really a special series, having the opportunity to go to Austin, then them come here. Certainly look forward to that.
All right, the trend when Coach Saban got here, and it worked out beautifully, was to open the season with these big neutral site games. Good payoff financially, a chance to travel to some key recruiting areas, Dallas and Atlanta. But now there's been a lot of movement from the fans to say, hey, we want big home-and-home series, and it looks like Alabama's going to try to do both.
Yeah, and I think that's good that they're going to try to do both. Now, let's say this, too, now. When you're playing Texas, you're playing out in Austin, you're still getting that exposure there. Even when Texas comes here, that's a tremendous amount of exposure in an area that you've really been recruiting quite a bit, Gary. So you don't really lose anything, in my opinion, by it not being, say, a neutral game in Dallas.
And even though it's down the road, the Notre Dame series, another team Coach Bryant had some heartbreaking losses against and never defeated. Alabama, of course, getting its first win over the Irish in 1986 under Ray Perkins, but the most high-profile victory was this one, just a blowout, 28-0 at the half. 42-0 in the 42-14 final in the national championship game. What do you think about the Tide and the Irish hooking back up down the road?
Well, it's a long way away, like you said, Gary, but I'll say this. 1973 was a long time ago, and I still feel pain from that 24-23 game on New Year's Eve in 1973 that really cost Alabama a unanimous national championship.
We'll never get over it. Missed extra point, Al Hunter a 100-yard kickoff return, and then at the end, the long pass
to Robin Weber.
Robin Weber, who I think maybe caught 3 balls that year.
I don't think he caught another, that year, but he never caught another pass in his career, and he was only a sophomore.
Yeah,
it was only a sophomore.
It was a gutsy call, because if Notre Dame had to punt from the end zone, Alabama would have won that game. But Tom Clements found Robin Weber. All right, Rodney, let's move on. Another graduate transfer situation that is starting to become an issue. Offensive lineman Brandon Kennedy announced his intent to transfer, and he's reportedly hoping to go to either Auburn or Tennessee. Well, Alabama has denied that transfer due to the SEC rule preventing in-conference transfers. Now, this happened before Maurice Smith in 2016, and of course, Bama, under a lot of pressure from the SEC office, eventually allowed Smith to transfer to Georgia, and that kind of set the precedent. Here's what Nick Saban had to say about this grad transfer situation.
You know, we have an SEC rule about do we want to have free agency within our conference. And I think there are certain circumstances and situations where it may be better for the student athlete, but and in those cases, I would be supportive of the guys doing it. I've done it in the past, and I've not done it in the past.
As we said, Rodney, Alabama, I'll just say it, they were pressured into letting Maurice Smith transfer to Georgia. I think Nick Saban, again, gets unfairly pegged in this deal. The bottom line is, and that's what he said on Maurice Smith, there's a rule in place that does not allow SEC players to transfer from one school to the other. And like he said, if you want to open up the rule like they changed so many other rules in regards to Nick Saban and let players transfer, then you're basically asking for free agency within the league.
It's trouble. They're going to have to be really cautious, not only about this, Gary, but they're talking about making all kinds of changes in terms of transfers nationally, being able to, leave at any point if you have a 3.0 GPA, whatever it is. I don't agree with that. I think with you sign with a school, the transfer rules, there's no reason to change them. These guys can transfer. They have an opportunity to sit out a year. If they're a grad transfer, then they can transfer and play immediately. And as far as transferring within the conference, I'm against that. I don't think that is good.
We saw Maurice Smith. Now we're looking at Brandon Kennedy there, number 56. And one thing that makes it so difficult is with so many players enrolling in January and taking classes through the summer and expeding their graduation, you're seeing it with Mack, who transferred to Oregon, and now Kennedy. They got 2 years of eligibility.
Let me say something else, Gary. What about if they do kind of open this up? They're going to be recruiting players off other teams.
Yeah, it'll happen.
The integrity of the whole thing is going to go down the drain.
It will definitely happen. All right, still to come on Tider Insider TV, the Alabama softball team is headed back to Super Regionals. Find out why this team, despite being the underdog, is feeling confident. And Alabama gets another huge commitment. We'll discuss Antonio Alfano's impact on the Tide recruiting class for 2019. Also, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. The phone number is always 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or you can email us at TITV@WVUA23.com or tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with more of the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider Television.
Roll Tide, baby.
The commitments keep pouring in for the 2019 Alabama football recruiting class. The latest coming from New Jersey defensive lineman Antonio Alfano. Rodney, a big addition for the D-line. And you know me. As long as you know me, nothing. I love quarterbacks. Does anything get me more excited than a commitment from a big defensive lineman?
No, and I'm in the same boat. I mean, when you can recruit the kind of defensive lineman and offensive lineman that Alabama's recruiting in this class, it could be really special.
Tell us about this guy. A lot of Jonathan Allen comparisons I'm hearing.
Well, there are, but, you look at him, Gary, he's a great athlete. I mean, 6'4", 285. He's been timed legitimately at 4'8" in the 40. He's got a 37-inch vertical jump. Here's the thing that really impresses me about him, and it's his mindset. I think he's embraced what it takes to play at Alabama, the work ethic. That's really, I think, what sets Alabama apart for him. And, Gary, there's a lot of great players, but it doesn't really mean that they'll all be great fits here. Mm-hmm. I think Antonio Alfano is not only a really outstanding prospect, but I think he'll be a great fit here.
Yeah, he embraces the opportunity to come in here and compete. And also, it doesn't hurt that Alabama has a track record of sending those defensive linemen on to the National Football League. He's already said, that's my ultimate goal. And
Alabama's had success in New Jersey, too. Anthony Averett, Minka Fitzpatrick, those guys were very successful, obviously drafted this year, and I think that played a role.
Keeps on rolling. 13 commitments in the class of 2019, all of them 4 stars or better. and Alabama ranked #1 right now in the latest recruiting rankings. Well, Alabama softball is headed to the Super Regionals for a 14th consecutive season. That's an NCAA record. Nobody else has ever done that. Now, Bama dominated its regional round, beating Middle Tennessee, Wisconsin, and Oregon State by a combined score of 23-1, making it 37 straight wins in the regional round. That's phenomenal. The Tide is headed to Seattle to take on 5th-ranked Washington in the Super Regional, and Patrick Murphy says his team is ready to go.
This was a team that really never gave up, kept working their butts off, stay late, come early, have done everything we've asked them to do, put the team before themselves. They were servant leaders. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and they're very, very gritty, and, I couldn't be more proud of this group.
So the softball season lives on while baseball, Rodney, comes to an end. But not before Jake Walters goes out a winner. The Tide's senior pitcher threw the best game of his collegiate career in the final game of his collegiate career. A 4-hit complete game shutout over #4 Ole Miss. Bama finished the season 27-29 overall, 8-22 in the SEC. But Walters had that shining moment, and head coach Brad Bohannon had mixed emotions following the final series.
It's sad, I've said all along we got great kids. I love our kids, and they tried really, really hard. They worked hard and gave us everything they had, and, that's all you can ask for. So, I'm excited to start working for the future, but I hate that some of these kids aren't going to be back next year, just with graduation and the draft and that type of stuff.
Guy knows what he's doing. I think he's going to get it turned around at some point. Well, the Alabama women's golf team is rolling in Stillwater. Pardon the pun. The Crimson Tide won its semifinal match this morning against Kent State easily, 4-1, and then followed it up with a win over USC to punch the ticket to tomorrow's championship match, most likely with Arizona. Arizona currently is dominating its match against Stanford. Now, Alabama's looking for its second national championship after last winning in 2012. Meanwhile, the men's tournament will begin this coming Friday in Stillwater. Alabama is seeking its 3rd national championship after finishing 4th overall at the Stockton Regional last week. Now, the appearance will be the 11th in head coach J.C. Wells' 16 seasons with the Crimson Tide.
I think we are starting to play our best golf for the first time. I think we've been a great team waiting to happen. And the biggest thing about that is everybody needs to be peaking at the right time, and it seems to be that way. You can feel the energy of our guys that way, and so, how do we get it to the next place? You just make sure they get in the van and not coach too much.
Alabama has 2 really good golf programs. Still to come, the Crimson Tide football team adds a new member to the staff. We'll have the details. And up next, we're biting at the bit. Rodney's ready to go to get in your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the information again posted on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. So go ahead and give us a call now. We'll be right back with more Tider Insider TV. Nick Saban announced the hiring of Bob Welton as Alabama's Director of Player Personnel this morning. Welton spent spent the spring at Nebraska. Didn't stay there long, but before that he spent 5 years as the Director of Player Personnel under Butch Jones. All right, let's head to the phone lines. Rodney, first up tonight is Jason over in Brilliant. Good evening, Jason. Jason, you with us? Jason. All right, let's go to BT in Tuscaloosa. BT, you're on, buddy. What's going on?
Not much, Gary and Rodney. How about y'all?
Doing well.
Gary and Rodney, I'll ask y'all a question, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. Do they have to, on a transfer, do you have to get released from the university, or I don't know how that works?
Okay, BT, good question. Ron, you kind of said it earlier. It all depends on whether they're trying to transfer within the conference or at a school that's on a team schedule. Usually the school will block that. As we said, there's a rule in the SEC to limit that anyway. If they want to go to a school outside the league or not on the schedule, Alabama usually doesn't stand in their way, correct?
Yeah, most of the time. And again, everybody does it a little bit differently, BT, in terms of the release. But for example, in this Brandon Kennedy, it's not a team within the conference and future opponents that would play within the years of his eligibility. So again, each situation's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's for sure. We'll see now. Kennedy has the option of continuing to try to appeal this thing, much like Maurice Smith did. We'll see what happens. Womack, of course, transferring to Oregon. As Rodney said, that's not an issue because Alabama doesn't play them, and they're not in the SEC. All right, let's take a tweet, Rod, and this is from Goal Line Stan. Bama needs a reliable, dynamic punt returner this year. Who do you think will step up and be the man?
Well, you know, they've talked about a lot of guys that did it last year. Trevon Diggs, I thought, really improved as the season went along. Late in the year, he was much better. I think he's got a lot of ability. Xavier Marks had a return for a touchdown, a little bit inconsistent fielding the ball.
They put Ruggs back there a few times.
Yeah, there was some difficulties with all of them handling the ball. I tell you the one to watch out for, though, is a true freshman out of Bel Air, Texas, the Houston area. Jalen Waddle. You knew I was going to say that, right?
I did.
Yeah. I really like Jalen Waddle, so get used to that name. I think he's going to be a difference maker as a kick return guy and also as a receiver.
I knew you liked him when you mentioned the name David Palmer to me in regards to him.
He's got a little bit of that in him.
All right, we are going to stay on the hotline here and go to Reg. Reg is next up with us in Hoover. Hey, Reg, how are you?
Guys, I was wrong. Alabama's softball team has good pitching. It's got good hitters. They put it all together, and they look like a good team.
Yeah,
next thing I want to tell you about, didn't Camaro transfer from Alabama to Tennessee a few years back?
Yeah, Reg, but he went to junior college first. That's the option you have if you've only, if you still have eligibility remaining in terms of more. He wasn't a graduate transfer. He had 3 years of eligibility. He went to junior college. He expended a year there, and then he was free to come back into the SEC. And he went to Tennessee, played 1 year there, and went on to the NFL. So that's another option if you transfer out earlier in your career, and you can play, and you don't lose a year in terms of your playing. You have to do it at junior college, but that's why he was able to play at Tennessee like that.
Yep. Played what, 2 years at Tennessee?
Well, 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
Played 1 year, and then was eligible for the draft.
Yeah.
And he knew what he was doing because he worked out pretty well last year as a rookie in the NFL. Hey, Alabama knew he was ultra talented. He just didn't work out for him here. All right, phone lines are wide open. Phone lines are wide open at 348 WVUA, so you can get in now. If you've been wanting to get in, I know we're starting to hit that little summer lull, but 348-9882 area code 205, you can get through now. We'll be back with more phone calls. You can also tweet at us using that hashtag TITV, or you can email us at the address on your screen as well. We'll be right back with more Tider Insider TV right after this. Well, Alabama's incredible men's tennis season came to an end in the round of 16 as the Tide fell to Texas A&M, but Bama junior Mason Osama was named the Southern Region ITA Player to Watch. Osama is the first Crimson Tide player to ever win that national award. He will compete in the singles and doubles portion of the NCAA Championship starting tomorrow morning. Well, let's get back to the phone lines. Our pal Harold over in Anniston is with us. Hey, Harold.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Hey, guys, I want to ask y'all about the quarterback controversy now. Let me make it clear. I'm a big fan, of the kid that we got now, man. But I think for the offense to evolve, that Tua is going to have to be the quarterback. He kind of reminds you of the Clemson quarterback, Deshaun Watson, just a left-hander, I think the offense will open up and the running game will open up, But like I said, I love the other kids, I love him to death, but like you guys say, the best has to play. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I agree with you, Harold, in terms of the best has to play. And the thing about it is, you have to look at the strengths of your team, and I think this team's going to have the opportunity to run the football. I think Nick Saban obviously puts a lot of emphasis on that. Don't make mistakes. Don't get yourself beat. I think that's really a valuable thing, and I think that's something that Jalen Hurts has done a really good job of in the last 28 games as a starter, and he's played most of the 29th game in the opener against USC a couple of years ago. So I look at all that, Harold, and I say, Tua gives you the ability to spread the field, utilize all those weapons outside that you have and all those great receivers, and I think when you can do that, I think it really creates even more firepower in your running game. I don't think there's any question about that, and I think it takes a lot of pressure off your defense. I think when you look at a player like Tua, I think he elevates everybody around him.
All right, Harold, thanks for the call. Let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Dee. Dee, welcome into the program. Dee, you might want to turn your TV down, man. Dee, you're going to get a delay now. All right, Brandon, let's move on. Listen, folks, all right, if you call in and you got your TV up, we're on a 7-second delay. It's going to mess you all up. All right, let's go to David in Northport. David, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, David.
I was wondering who was going to be our holder on kicks this year, and remind me who our long snapper is, and is Nick Saban still willing to use a scholarship on a long snapper?
Yeah, he is. In fact, they signed one last year.
Thomas Fletcher, very highly regarded long snapper. You know, and who's going to hold for the plate? Well, Tua's held some.
Yeah, Tua's held.
You know, last year it was J.K. Scott. Sometimes you have the punter do that. You know, possibly Skylar DeLong. I don't know that that's all been completely worked out right now. But I'll tell you this. Jeff Banks, the new special teams coach, I think he's going to be really, really good.
And something else, Rodney. I mean, there's been a lot of talk over the years about Alabama's inability to find a superstar kicker, even though there's been some good ones. It's been an inconsistent area. There's never been anything inconsistent about the snapping, the holding, the kickoffs, the punting. That's always been really good. The cover game, the return game. The only issues has been when Alabama has missed some field goals. But everywhere else in special teams, they've always been very solid. Agree?
Yeah, and giving up some kick returns, as you might have mentioned, kickoff returns. But, yeah, I agree.
All right, thanks for the phone calls, emails, and tweets. Still to come, an Alabama head coach announces his retirement. Plus, a former Crimson Tide basketball great passes away. We'll be back with more Tider Insider TV right after this. Well, he served as SEC commissioner for 14 years, and a lot of people say he's the reason for the conference having the incredible success it's enjoying today. Mike Slive passed away last week at the age of 77. During his 14 years as the SEC commish, the conference increased its annual revenue by nearly $400 million. And, of course, he also orchestrated the SEC network. Rodney, he had a great gift to being able to handle tough situations in a diplomatic way and get all these head coaches, even though they didn't always agree, on the same page. Yeah. That's a gift. It's hard to do.
He's a legendary for what he did.
No doubt about it. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV. We also wanted to recognize the passing of a Crimson Tide legend. George Lynn was captain on the Rocket 8 basketball team that went undefeated in the SEC in 1955, 1956. And remember, Rodney, for a while, he had the longest shot in basketball history over there at Foster Auditorium. It's 94-foot court, and that was over 90 feet, I think, that he sunk. But that was a great team, one of the great teams in Alabama basketball history. He passed away at his home in Dothan. And the end of a great Crimson Tide career as Alabama's rowing coach, the only one they've ever had. Larry Davis announces his retirement. He joined the program and built it from scratch in 2006, including the building of the boathouse along the river, and has this program very competitive. Well, our beautiful shirts, as always, are provided by the Locker Room, home of the original Elephant Wear, downtown Tuscaloosa. Go by and see them or shop online. You'll be glad you did, and we didn't try to match again, I promise. All right, that's going to do it for TITV. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. You catch a replay tonight at 10:30. Good night.